Great. I'm seeing the numbers increase. So I think we are on air at the moment. Great. So good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Fatima Abul Asrar. I am pleased to welcome you all to today's event, Navigating the Future of South Yemen. South Yemen today faces many converging challenges, from the spread of COVID-19 to floods, electricity cuts, security problems, and the Southern Transitional Council's self-rule decision. Meanwhile, military confrontations in Abyan threatens a new conflict south of the country. Today, we will hear from an outstanding panel of Yemeni experts from diverse sectors to explore the various current dynamics impacting South Yemen and how they view the path forward. I'm pleased to have with us today Dr. Saadeddin Ali Talib, who was a former minister in Hadi's transitional government after 2011 uprisings. Before that, he was a known, prominent, and outspoken member of the Parliament of Yemen for the Shibam district of Hadramaut. He also was elected by Parliament as a member to the first Anti-Corruption Commission in Yemen until he resigned his post. With us today as well is Dr. Abdelkader Al-Junaid, who is a medical doctor and a well-known political activist in Taiz. He is known to be critical of the Houthi armed groups in Yemen and their allies. Before the 1994 civil war between North and South, Dr. Al-Junaid founded the January 18th Committee to support the Pledge and Agreement Charter in Taiz, which was against the war, and it was a pro-Southern Yemen. Dr. Al-Junaid is the author of an upcoming book, Prison Times in Sana'a, which describes his experience after being forcibly kidnapped and imprisoned for 300 days by the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in the capital. I'm also pleased to welcome Yasmin Al-Nadiri. Yasmin is the Executive Director of Peace Track Initiative and a founding member of the Women's Solidarity Network, of which I'm a member. Yasmin has participated in the 1.5 track on peace diplomacy led by Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance on security issues. She led the Peace Track Initiative Women Civil Society delegation who participated on the sidelines of Geneva peace consultations in Yemen and worked for more than 11 years with international organizations and the private sector in the development field, including with the GIZ, the MDM France, and Occidental Petroleum of Yemen. Finally, I am pleased to welcome Amr Al-Bid. Amr is a member of the Presidential Council of the Southern Transitional Council and is responsible for external communications and issues regarding the peace process. Al-Bid worked in the office of former President Ali Salim Al-Bid for more than 10 years and has a wide understanding of the dynamics and struggles of the movement in the south of Yemen. We have received all of the audience questions in advance, and I'll be infusing them into discussion. With that, we will begin our conversation. I will start with Dr. Abdelkader Al-Junaid. Thanks again so much for agreeing to do this. Thanks to all of you. And Dr. Abdelkader, you wanted to start with an opening statement.
Thank you, Sister Fatima. I see that we have three all seasons problems. I can call them the mother of all problems everywhere in Yemen. Number one problem is poor governance. Number two problem, economy failure. Number three problem, lack of a social contract. And we have two problems that I can name them the causes of the current tragedy. And these two problems are the use of arms to advance a certain thought or aspiration or even a greed. And the second one is the use of for a foreign power to get finance, arms, and support to advance these thoughts. We have two elements of this. We have one in the north and one in the south. The one in the north are frankly taking ballistic missiles, landmines, drones, and oil shipments from Iran. The second one is in the south, and it is financed and armed by another state on the other side of the Gulf. So, three problems which will stay with us for long, and two problems are the causes of our current tragedy. Now, there is a southern problem? Yes, certainly there is a southern problem. But there is also a Hudaydah problem, a Tihama problem, a Hadramaut problem, a Sa'da problem, Ta'iz problem, an Eb problem, Hajjah problem, Mar problem. We are full of problems. Who doesn't have a problem? Even you, Fatma, a few 1 mile from where you are, across the street of the White House, now there is great problems. But you don't go to foreign powers and advance your problems on your own citizens and use all these arms against all these citizens. This shouldn't. We should find a way to sort out our problems without resorting to power. Are we different? Yes, certainly we are different. I live in the slopes of Mount of Saber. If I drive upward for 15 minutes, people are different complexion, different food, different accent. If I go down to Hajda, different food, different color, complexion, different everything. But that doesn't mean that we should fight. We are still the same. We have lots of grudges, but I think we should stick to struggle to get a social contract and to get a good governance and to get our economy going. Amr Al-Bir, I pass you my respect. It doesn't matter if I am on the other side of the debate with you now. It is an honor to be with you. It was an honor to meet President Ali Salim Al-Bir. He invited me with other people from TAIS because he thought that I should be there because I founded this 18 January committee to support the Charter of Pledge and Agreement and Pledge. He is number one maker of the unification. He's the one who sacrificed his title as a president to become a vice president without a job description. He's good. But we also considered him our champion of going to find a social contract. The Charter of Pledge and Agreement, I didn't do it because I supported socialism or I supported Al-Bir. I did it because I was after a social. He was the one who planted the seeds of a social contract. Please pass my regard to him. I mean, he's not only a maker of the unification, he is also the one who planted the seeds of a social contract. President Saleh, he gets a credit. He is a co-maker of this unification. He muted lots of objections inside the north, the tribal complex, the military complex, the business community, the religious community, the Salafists, everyone, because all of them, they saw socialism and people who come from a socialist part are a threat to them. He muted them. And he was a co-founder of this unification. Unfortunately, those muted people, he revived them again, and used them to attack the Socialist Party. And equally, he didn't only use Northerners, he used also Southerners. I have to be blunt and frank. He used the Afghan Arabs who were mainly from the south, the Fadlis and the others. He used the Abyan group, the ones who entered Aden in 1994 were Southerners, and he came behind. So he played his cards differently. So this is another thing. should be mentioned. Sa'aduddin Taleb, I was privileged to attend your lecture in Ta'assuf Hotel 8 years ago. It was about corruption, fighting corruption, but with lots of insights about for good governance and for economic progress and avoiding economic failure. So I think this two, I mean, we have Ali Salim Al-Bid, who is champion of social contract, which I think is a major problem. Sa'aduddin Taleb is a man who is after economic progress and good governance. And then I will greet Yasmin. Yasmin, you are a leader in the women movement, the Yemeni women movement. The national dialogue outcomes gave Yemeni women 30% quota in all elected and official jobs. I think the women movement should be the champions who are fighting for a social contract, and we have a social contract, which is the national dialogue outcomes. I think we had in the last 20 years 3 social contracts, which are all of them are, for me, they are the same. If you want to have a new one, be my guest with another hotel, 5-star hotel expenditure, and dozens of tens of millions of dollars. And but anyway, it won't be out of these 3 charters. The charter of the pledge and agreement, the statement of the foundation of the joint meeting parties, and the last one is the national dialogue outcomes. I think
Thank you, Dr. Abdel Qadir. Just for the sake of time, and we said there 3 minutes, and it ended up being 8 minutes.
I finished. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdel Qadir, for your insight. And I will, I'll probably turn it to Dr. Sa'aduddin. Dr. Saad, you have Dr. Abdel Qadir Al-Junaid is saying that, we have problems all over the country. We have problems in Hadramaut, problems in Ta'az, problems in Sana'a. It's not just a southern problem. There are problems here in Washington, D.C., near the White House. So what makes the southern problem so unique? And then the other issue that for me stood out is the issue of foreign support. Foreign support, as in for this southern issue is maybe delegitimizing from this cause. So we would like to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, thank you. I was first, I must say thank you for having us in this meeting, and secondly, my heart and prayers go to all the people in Yemen who are suffering now in the north and in the south, suffering with great burdens of weather, of disease, of lack of services, and all that. So first, I must remind ourselves that that's what's happening back in Yemen. Secondly, I listened carefully to what Dr. Al-Junaid said, and he is a doctor by profession, and he has diagnosed a lot of problems. Let me just give you the names of the diseases now. The first problem that needs to be explained is that the state of Yemen has failed. That's the number one reality. There is a state failure now in Yemen by all definition, whether wide or narrow. It is beyond collapse. It has failed as a state. Secondly, we asked ourselves the question, which is part of the diagnosis: why has it failed? To my 20-year work in Yemen politics, Yemen has been under state capture, actually both Yemens, the south and the north, for many decades. And those people who are in power have refined tools to capture the state. In the north, or in the united Yemen, why has it failed? it is because directly, it is because of a kleptocracy, meaning a state of the thieves, headed by the president with all the family. So he captured the state in all its pillars, whether it's parliament, whether it's the judiciary, whether it's government, whether it's companies, whether it's businesses, whether it's the military. All of that was under the control of one man for the purpose of kleptocracy, which is dangerous. Kleptocracy in a poor rentier state is a case of disaster. It ends up in failure. Second thing that I have noticed over many, many years in working in politics in Yemen, that there is a mindset in the mountains, there is a mindset, very clear, that we must have the rule. We must rule others, whether it's Hodeidah or Ta'iz or Aden or Hadramaut. That mindset still lives until today under different banner. Maybe that new banner is a theocracy. The one with the Houthis, and they are brutal. They are armed, they want to kill, and they are brutal, and they are hunting also for resource, kleptocrats. Second thing, the current government. The current government was supposed to be the savior of the state from this collapse. And no mindful person can say that it has succeeded, but the real answer is that they have failed miserably as a legitimate government to pull out Yemen from this. That's why I must say that this Yemen state, we are now in the stage of rebuilding. It is very good, and always I hear excellent people like Dr. Al-Junaid and many other extremely educated people who, let me use this word, I hope I do not go beyond my limits when I say they are dreaming of this new social contract between the North and the South, or between the different people of Yemen, in where these state captors, those who have captured the state to their own benefit, will be removed. I will not be present. In actual fact, Dr. Al-Junaid, and I call on all other people, the only current players who are being entertained by the United Nations are all armed groups, whether it is the Houthis or the STC, now a new player, and also the legitimate government. We are now seeking a new social contract. In fact, it must be implemented by a foreign force, because we, the unarmed people, like people in Hadramaut, for instance, which I will come to in a minute, and I'll take only 1 minute. So, the question here comes, which is very important, which the elites claim, or the educated elites, the civil elites. Is it sustainable? Is it viable that we bring a civil state together out of this mess? My conclusion, and I claim it is correct, and I can prove it is correct in a much more time, that this is impossible now. This is impossible. And we have seen in the recent case of Al-Bayda, where one tribal element can say, hey, come over, let's fight. And all the elements, they come together, and all the elements, they come together, and they wanna fight the Houthis. While the same people have killed two Adeni boys in the streets of Sana'a in 2013, and they did not have the sense of justice to bring that justice back to the two boys of Aden, which is a well-known case. The same tribe, I must say. Now what the attempt now, so the state capture can be under the banner of kleptocracy, or now it is under theocracy. And of course, the natural question will come, supposing the South is seceded, and will the South also not suffer from the same problems or from the same captors? I do not know. I am also careful. I am not a blindfolded sheep to just follow anything before a clear social contract is set before me. I come to the last point, which will take 1 minute. I think I've taken now 4.5. The last element is this. I call, and I'm forwarding this to my friend Amr Albir. I call upon the STC to be a different kind of force or a group or a leader. They need to have better leadership. They need to be more inclusive, and they need to be of better governance. So far until now, they have not shown us. They must also be more tolerant to the aspirations of a place like Shabwa or my home place, Hadramaut, and also it's the same place that where Amr comes from. Hadramaut has its own aspirations. They also have pains from the 60s, from the different powers that have done great harm to Hadramaut. I must remind my friend Amr and also remind her that Hadramaut is not just a governorate. It is a global nation that has a lot of potential that can lift not only Hadramaut, but lift also its neighbors. So therefore, my conclusions are the following. That the STC should not dictate its terms on a place like Hadramaut, but allow Hadramaut to be more, have more space, have more rights, I would call them rights, to also grow within the aspired southern country or southern state. My final, my message to the STC is you need better leadership and you need a better attitude to be more inclusive. And also must prove to me, at least, that it will not capture the state like it has done, what was done in the 70s during the socialist times. I think I will stop here and leave the rest of the matters to a later discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Saad. One thing I was curious about is that you have not brought up the issue of the Riyadh Agreement at all. Neither you, neither Dr. Abdul Qadir Junaid. And I'm
you want me in 10 seconds? In 10 seconds?
In 10 seconds.
In 10 seconds, the Riyadh Agreement is an attempt, a failed attempt at coercing or bringing in the fold of another captor force, which is the government of Riyadh, to bring them in the fold. And it will fail. It has failed already, and it will continue to fail.
And others are also saying that it's an attempt to bring the STC and legitimize it, because before the Riyadh Agreement,
why the STC agreed. That's why the STC agreed to come in, because they thought it was a legitimizing sort of stream or path towards legitimizing itself.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, the United Nations, the regional powers, and I'm sorry, I forgot about the matter that whether you should take foreign support. I thought everyone has taken foreign support. If there was no foreign support in the Second World War, Hitler would be ruling the world today.
Thanks, Dr. Saad. Thank you so much. Yasmin, I'm gonna turn it over to you if you could unmute yourself. You know, we've heard different views today, and I want to bring it back to the Riyadh Agreement, and especially given the fact that STC has declared self-administration. What does this mean at this time, and how do you see the self-administration decision by the STC impact on the Riyadh Agreement and on the UN peace process, which you're very closely involved in?
Thank you very much, Fatma, for the great introduction. I'm very honored to be with those great people. And as a Peace Track Initiative, a women-led organization that aims at localizing and feminizing the Yemeni peace process, we are a Track 2 partner with the UN Special Envoy And we've been conducting consultations with women leaders, women experts, I would say, from inside and outside Yemen in addressing key issues like releasing detainees and transitional justice. And the South issue was a priority to us since 2016 because it was still among the marginalized voices. We're currently also working towards national reconciliation, in which, by which we are in contact with the key national actors like military leaders and politicians. I need to speak a little bit about the agreements, and I would highlight the fact that since 2014, none of the peace agreements signed for Yemen were implemented, including the Riyadh Agreement, which was signed 6 months ago. You know, the Riyadh Agreement had a very clear objectives and timeline in comparison to the Stockholm Agreement, which was very vague and open to interpretation. It has covered 3 sections, very important sections, like the political and economic, the military, the security. And you know, because we're contacting usually the key actors to learn more about the the challenges. So you know, the key actors, the regional key actors, stated to us that you know, all the grievances and the you know, the history of conflict between the southern political parties that goes back to maybe events like 1986 and 1994, where it was a history of exclusion and you know, and defeat. So to them, this is a very important or a very fundamental challenge. This is what they shared with us. And regarding the implementation for the STC, as most of you know, they want to implement first. They're pushing to implement the political section before implementing the military and security, because they want maybe to secure their seats within the government, the new government, the legitimate government. As for the government, you know, I would say there is a huge lack of there is a lack of political will, and there is a huge trust issue. Yeah, so the government think that, you know, we cannot go for the political part first, since STC is still have the power in the ground. So this is very, very difficult for them. So these are the challenges. And, you know, our sources like told us that now they are negotiating you know, a request to the STC to withdraw their the declaration of self-administration. So these are the latest news that we got in this regard. And speaking about the self-administration, I would say it was a miscalculated step from the STC, because issues like, you know, basic issues like electricity, water, security are very challenging, even for the, you know, for any actors before it's beyond their capacity. And, you know, and this step, like, I think it will, it's not a problem about, it's not a reaction of the international community that they would be concerned about, but it will backfire on them from the people of the South itself, because, you know, even the international community, with all the, you know, the tools that they have and all the UN security resolutions that they have, they could not hold the Houthis accountable. So I would say STC would care less about the international committee, but rather they should be careful from the people. And how is this going to impact them? I think it will reduce their chance to be among the government, to be in the track 1 diplomacy peace negotiations. On the peace negotiations, they were supposed to be among the delegation of the government. So if the Riyadh Agreement is not signed, this will prevent them from, participating. I'm very ambitious. I know it's not anytime soon, but this is one of the direct impact. Also, I think implementing the ceasefire was very difficult in the South because the Riyadh Agreement was not even signed. So that's all I have for now.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yasmin. I'm gonna turn it to you, Amr. Thanks for your patience and for coming on today. And there's a lot of criticism for the STC's self-declaration, and I want to know. I want you to walk us through the reason for the STC's self-administration decision at this time. What is the overall STC stance from the Riyadh Agreement? Because you have not obviously walked out of the Riyadh Agreement. The president of the STC, Idris Zubaydi, was in Riyadh, a couple of weeks ago, and we want to know sort of like what is exactly the end objective for the STC. So if you could walk us through that, I'll be grateful.
Thank you, Fatma, for having me here and your respected guests. Lots of hits I've got from the participants, but it's all right, no problem. We can handle them. But anyhow, just to mention something today. It's a sad day for us in the South, and I think also for all the for the press industry and everyone, that we've lost today a very dear friend in a brutal assassination near his house in Aden, Abed Rabbeh. He is an AFP cameraman and photographer that was covering all of the bravely, covering all the war that has happened since 2015 in Hadida, in Aden, in Abyan, and all the battlefields. He has a very distinguished smile that he's always producing a very positive vibe among us. Unfortunately, we received this news today, but this incident gives us a certainty in our cause, in our road to achieve the civil project that we're looking for, and it shows the weakness of such regimes and groups, fundamentalist groups, that they're using such very coward ways. So that was just beginning that I want to mention. Regarding self-growth, there's many topics here.
Thank you. Thanks, Amr. I just wanted to ask you, I'm getting some feedback. The audio is not so clear, so can you just come a little bit closer to your laptop?
All right.
Yes, I think this is a little bit
better. Is it all right? It's better right now?
It's a little bit better. I still hear some feedback. I don't know if there's another device open or something like that, but
no.
Okay, great. If you could just be a little bit closer, perhaps. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So there are lots of topics that are open right now. Not only the self-administration, the Riyadh Agreement, the problem of the South from the history, and the other problems, Hadramaut problem, and others. So I'll just begin from the self-administration. Then I can go back to the other problems if you want. If you have time, no problem. We can discuss it in detail. The self-administration decision is a status that it's between it's a status inside the war that we thought that we have to take it. It's basically humanitarian. It's not political, because others may say that it's a wrong decision right now. We know we're facing lots of challenges on the ground. It's a very difficult moment, and political-wise, everyone would say, "Are you crazy? You're taking this step forward, where Aden is suffering the worst I mean, the worst challenges that have ever been facing since a long time. So, but we think that it's our duty to take this step to reach, to at least try to provide those services, because the government are lacking that. They didn't do anything since long time, and they're not providing anything. So we thought we can't leave the people. I know that's very difficult, but we can't leave them. We have to take this decision and try. I mean, at least we'll be genuine in our efforts to put it towards people. We try to contain whatever we can contain, and try to redirect it to the people instead of leaving the corrupted government to handle the situation as they used to do. I mean, they say, everyone is saying, why are you doing that? Okay, what's the other option do we have? I mean, the government didn't do anything since a long time. What's the alternative? We have to take responsibility in this at this position. This is why we think that we have to help the people. So the main is to provide services and security and stability in our areas till we reach an agreement, a political agreement, or we can enter a political peace process. So this is the main objectives right now. Regarding the Riyadh Agreement, yeah, we are still willing to talk. I mean, we are open to talk. Maybe the political advantage here and the self-administration step, that stating that there is a problem, the Riyadh Agreement has a problem that we need to review. Since 6 months now, has more than 7 months now that have been finished from Riyadh Agreement, and nothing has happened. Why? So these steps, I think, should review our thoughts on what happened, what went wrong, and we need to fix that. Maybe with the coalition, maybe with the help of the international community too. So that was another. This is just an advantage to that. Yeah.
So just a couple of thoughts. When you talk about the self administration as purely humanitarian and not political, this was initially condemned by President Hadi and seen as a rebellion. So the move itself is seen as highly really political. And second, there seems to be an attempt for competition and not cooperation, because the entities that you're dealing with in the south of Yemen, from the local councils to the municipalities who are managing this, are paid by the government. So wanted to know from you, sort of like, how do you expect to be more efficient in service delivery than even the government, when the government has not been able to? Why haven't you added that layer and started providing the services as you wanted, or as the STC wanted, as opposed to just telling the government that they're unwelcomed? The prime minister was not allowed to come back to Aden, and these are highly political issues. They're not just humanitarian. When you stop the prime minister from coming into the country.
Yeah, I mean, the prime minister was for the last 6 months, he was in Aden. He was operating from Aden. So that wasn't the problem here. I mean, and also the rest of the deputy prime minister is still in Aden. He was still in Aden and working from there. And we, at the same time, right now, we are working with institutes, the same institutes in Aden. So it's the idea is that the government are not doing anything, but we're working with those institutes on the ground. It's the matter that we just redirecting the revenues, redirecting to the benefits of the people, is because what we've seen for the last for the last 6 months or three years. Nothing has been done. So it's I mean, what shall we do in here? I mean, we especially after we've seen what happened lately in Aden, the flash flood that occurred in the city of Aden, and how the services was very bad, and people are suffering, and we can't stand still and look at the people without doing anything. So we had to take this step forward. For now, it's not a declaration of independence at all. It's just a phase, a status that we can help to put the revenues of Aden to the city. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, and this is what exactly happening in Marib, happening in Mahara, and also in Shudaida at the same time. Everyone is doing that. I mean, the thing is that we were loud about it.
Thanks, Amr. Thanks for this overview. I'm gonna turn it back to Dr. Abdel Qadir as a physician, and you're hearing Amr speak about what's happening in the south of Yemen. He's saying that this is a humanitarian issue. This is about service delivery that the government has failed in doing, and now amid COVID-19 crisis. And in the aftermath of the floods, the government has not done much. I wanted to get an idea from you in terms of how did you see Yemen's government response after the floods and during the COVID-19 crisis, and if you see the STC as helpful or if it hampers the efforts of managing the COVID-19 crisis.
It is very sad what's going on in Aden, and actually it is very sad everywhere in Yemen. And this will become worse by the day until we have the herd immunity, the so-called herd immunity. There are 4 pillars in combating any epidemic that would include coronavirus. Number 1 is the ability to listen to the epidemiologist and the disease control specialist and how to do it. Take my word, watch my lip. We don't have this specialty. We don't have this department. So whether it was Hadi or legitimacy or STC, everyone is bound to fail. We don't have this kind of people. Number 2, it is the curative side, hospitals, intensive care units, which are needed to take care of the ones who fall. They are very lousy. They are in a very bad shape everywhere, north and south. And it is very expensive to run such services, especially the intensive care units. And the staff are highly trained, and it is a teamwork. It is not a one-man show. And the system does not have this. And it is very expensive. It is possibly $10,000 a night in an intensive care unit in the West. In Egypt, it is 20,000 pounds in the big private hospitals. And the 3rd pillar is the leadership. The political leadership has proved to be important in countries that succeeded in combating the epidemic. We don't have a leadership. We have a president, the legitimate president, who was elected. He was put in house arrest in his home in Sana'a. He fled Sana'a to Aden, and then he fled Aden again to abroad. And then when he came back, he was prevented from his plane was prevented from landing. So what do you expect from a president or a leadership or a government which can't stay in its transitional capital to do? How can you? What can it do? Who can do? How can it do? It does not exist. And number 4, the people. The 4th pillar in combating the disease are the people. People in countries that succeeded and did well in combating the coronavirus pandemic were paramount in the way they showed in front of the whole of the world. Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Sweden, Norway, New Zealand, the leadership was you. And the people were the same, equally the same. So we lack the four pillars. We lack the epidemiologists, we lack the intensive care units, we lack the leadership, we lack the right people who will do it on their own. So yes, we are in a mess. We are going to suffer, and we will have the fully blown strike of virus corona. There is no way to get around this. Whoever is looking after Aden or Taiz or Sana'a or whatever. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Abdul Qadir. I'll turn it also to Dr. Saad Din, who is also a surgeon and physician. And I wanted to, know from you again, like Dr. Abdul Qadir said, there is no leadership, there is no capacity in the healthcare system, which is extremely frail in Yemen and also compounded by different problems. But now amid the COVID-19 crisis, Yemen is facing just multiple challenges, and the South right now might be not even receiving the full benefits of having coordinated control. There are issues of trust and legitimacy as well. I mean, part of it is that the citizens have to have some direction somehow, and trust in the government and the legitimacy of the entities that are providing these services. So how do you think this can be handled in the south of Yemen?
Okay, thank you, Fatma. I think Dr. Abdul Qadir clearly explained what was required to confront this COVID-19. It basically needs good management and people support, which is absolutely absent at this moment, and there is really no leadership. All of Yemen lacks leadership, whether it's also in the south or whether in the north. Leadership is a character thing. It's about an attitude and gaining trust of the people. If that is there, then you can even gain trust. If the people are behind you, you can gain trust of the rest of the world, and people will help you. And even your subordinates, your management team, will help you confront any problems or any crisis that is facing the people. So I don't know how we will run through this epidemic, but I'm more concerned really not about the next 12 months. I'm concerned about the next 12 years. What is going to be of us in the next 12 years? We will get through this by suffering, by trying to gain international support. We will get through the epidemic. Hopefully soon immunization will come out, and hopefully they'll be kind enough to deliver that immunization to us. Yes, go on.
Like the other part that comes to my mind is, community participation, and there needs to be, part of why combating epidemics can be successful is because you rely on the community as well to help out.
Absolutely.
But how
Yes,
could this be organized, and how could they be, better organized when there is no leadership anywhere?
Well, you see, there are different levels. There are different levels. In Hadramaut, there is some success. I cannot claim it's very large success, but there is some success because there is at least some form of a leader there. And the country, well, Hadramaut itself is beginning to organize itself. It's not successful, but there is some degree of success. It's different in Aden. There is total lack of, there's chaos, essentially. This brings me to who is going to pull out the whole country or the countries out of this mess. I think the UN Special Council is not taking this matter in the right track or in the right path. I completely appreciate all the efforts like Yasmin Nadri is doing, like so many other groups are doing, but we are still against a force of a military and a tribal force, whether it's the Houthis or whether it's or a kleptocratic force like the legitimate government, which is only focused on resources and taking care of resources. And they have like, what, 35 or 40 ministers living in different capitals of the world. How much are they getting? So what Amr said is correct. This is corrupt. This is absolutely corrupt. During the days of Saleh, I must remember this. You see, the voice of the South is not completely represented until some people in the South taken the gun. And when they fight and they kick out the government from Aden, okay, you come and sit on the table. Why is Hadramaut not on the table? Why is Al Mahra not on the table? Why is Taiz not on the table? What about Hudaydah and its rights? So all of the people of Yemen are under this pressure to succumb to the forces that carry the guns and carry out their dictations. Whatever the Houthis want in the end, whatever the Hadi government wants, or whatever the SCC wants. I have declared already that the reunification of Yemen is impossible under the current circumstances. And these current circumstances will not change in the foreseen future. What I must add, that this underrepresentation, even in the civil society across the world. I remember when I was a member of parliament that Hadramaut used to present 70% of the budget. And there was a 10 what do you call allocations or scholarships were given to Canada by, at that time, the Canadian Nexen company. Who was in charge of that? Who are the people who went from these 10? How many from Hadramaut? It was totally organized, and a totally organized theme that we must succumb and we must marginalize and alienate the real people who deserve because of the resources. And until today, those figures are still holding parts of Hadramaut because of these resources, because they want to steal oil, quite simply. And I have all the details. I don't know if there is enough. I have all the details. Why are the forces in the Wadi and why are the forces in Shabwa to protect these interests? Go on, Fatima.
Just to clarify to the audience as well, the reason why you brought up the issue of the scholarships is because Canadian Nexen was essentially operating in Hadramaut, and
yes,
you know, none of these opportunities were given to the Hadramis. Is what you're talking about.
I remember one. I remember one. In the number of years, I remember only one.
Yes. So I'm going to turn it to Yasmin because you know, by now we understand that there's so much complexity. Dr. Saad is saying, you know, forget about Yemen project and a unified state at this time. What do you think is the answer and the way forward? Is federalism one of the issues that Yemen should be considering? You know, can you give us your thoughts on what that looks for you?
So the answer to all his question is actually for the coming 12 years or whatsoever is the federalism, I would say. It's absolutely the best solution for Yemenis now, at least give us a chance for the transitional period. Yeah, because you were saying about, you were part of the national dialogue and in the national dialogue outcomes. The federal system was proposed to ensure that every province will have the lead for its own economic development, and you know, it guarantee also for you the representation. So go ahead, and I think the roadmap towards peace is very clear. Yeah, and we have to be uneasy on the government, the legitimate government, because also we should think about the political process, which will lead into a very peaceful results. Signing the Riyadh Agreement and start implementing it, then the ceasefire will be implemented, that's for sure. And we will be focusing on fighting the COVID-19 in Yemen, because I would say that we've been spoken with women on the ground, women-led organizations who are really suffering in terms of going to hospitals and appointing new people who are appointed, for example, by the legitimate government, and the STC has not approved it, for example. So you're adding more, I would say, challenges. Now at that time, it's a very, very sensitive time. I don't think it's time to use the humanitarian issues just to win some political cards or whatsoever. But I think federalism is the solution, because also after the declaration of the self-administration, I don't think that Shabwa, Hadramaut, or Al-Mahra like have agreed that the STC will represent them. It's a question of representation as well. So yeah, so these are my points.
Thanks a lot, Yasmin. I'm gonna turn it to Amr, and we're almost wrapping up. It's we'll probably go on for just a little bit until you all like have closing remarks. I'll give you the opportunity to do that, but
yeah, give us 1 minute. 1 minute wrap up.
I will do that, but I want to, Amr, you've heard a lot of things now. Yasmin is saying federalism is the answer. Is that something that the STC would be open to as we think about the future of South Yemen?
Thank you. Well, the problem in Yemen, in the north or in the south, has two major problems, and then there are levels and layers underneath. For us, I think first is the history, the political characteristics of each area. And as we know, the south has a history that is mainly decentralized, while the north has different history and different political characteristics, which is the centralized normally structure in the north. What happened is, from our side, sorry, this is the first problem. The second problem is the political Islam that's from both sides, the Sunni side and the Shia side, at the same time, that trying to control these areas. I mean, this is a problem in all the Arab world and the Islamic world, but also it plays a major problem in Yemen and in the south right now. When I go back to the south, mainly the political characteristics of the southern people are with the decentralized government, decentralized authority, and that's the problem, that we had a circle of violence and bloodshed in our history, is because we always try to centralize the government. That's what the Social Party did, and on the other hand, we'd like to solve this problem during the unity is by trying to decentralize Sana'a, where it has different political characteristics, and that's why we had problems, and that's why the document of pledge, and of course that Dr. Abdul Qadir was advocating for it, failed, is because we wanted to decentralize Sana'a, where Sana'a we have to respect the political process of Sana'a. We have to respect that, and we should find solutions to our problems first. Then we go to Sana'a and try to work out a solution. So, and this is exactly the same problem why the war of 2015 has happened again, because the national dialogue outcomes is decentralizing. And at the same time, Sana'a doesn't allow this. And that's why this has occurred again. The problems have occurred again. So from our perspective, we think that we need to respect each other's structures and histories, and try to find a workable solution. From our side, we think that maybe the federalism federalism won't work in the between us, because between the South and the North, because in the South we have to find solutions. For example, the Hadrami, I mean, the inclusive Hadrami conference, stating that we want Hadramaut as an autonomy, either with the North or with the South, and that's why in our SCC's program, we thinking that the future should be decentralized South, and I think we are aligning with the Hadrami inclusive conference in that, and we have to diagnose these issues in the South and try to solve them. So this is the main problem that we're having in Yemen, and we think that we should be realistic in it and sit on the table and talk about them and find solutions, workable solutions.
Great, thanks, Amr. I've received many questions from the audience, and I've infused some of them in the discussion. But one member is asking if you could elaborate on the relationship, Amr, between the SDC and the Iran-backed Houthi militia. There is talk that there's collaboration and coordination between both. So that's one, and the other is on Tariq Saleh's forces helping the SDC in its attack on government forces in Abyan. So if you have some updates for us or clarifications that you can give on this issue.
This is an accusation that's been listening for a long time. I mean, that we are with the Houthis, and on the contrary, we are the one who are really fighting the Houthi in our fronts.
Can you speak up a little bit? Sorry, Amr. Can you just yeah, if you can speak up a little bit, just closer to the
okay. I said this is an accusation that I've been hearing from a long time. Even the director, I remember a long time ago in 2014, 2013, the director of MEI was when he was ambassador at that time, were accusing the South as an Iranian proxy. Unfortunately, the one who he was sitting with at that time are the one who became the Iranian proxy, not us here on the other side of the picture right now. So no, we're not with the. We are unfortunately we have battles with the Houthis in our areas, and we are the one who liberated our areas from the Houthis. So that's a false accusation, and we think that we can solve problems, but we need a proper table, a proper platform under the international community that we can talk to any other political components in Yemen and trying to find workable solutions. So that's regarding Tariq Saleh. Definitely, there is he's not part of the military operation that was defending Aden from the assaults from the Islah Party and covered by the government. And
Amr, there is one more question directed for you from a colleague of mine who's asking you where did the redirected billions from the state institutions go after the SDC has taken control, and if you can elaborate, well, actually don't elaborate because we're almost out of time, on how did the SDC improve services, but quite quickly, please.
We formed committees in Aden in order to monitor the institutes in Aden and the emergency committee too. So to find solutions for the electricity, to find solutions for the water and the basic services as in general. So we've done that, and we try to reinfuse these revenues from Aden to the city, to the institutes in Aden. So that was the process that we're taking right now with the help of international community and the UN for sure.
But you must understand the skepticism, because there is a lack of transparency in terms of how the funds are being dispersed, because it's currently under the full control and authority of the SDC. So what measures do you have in place to make sure that, you know, you're not as corrupt as the governments that you are, you know, opposing.
Yeah, for sure. We have those measures that we're trying to create now. We have been now it's a 1 month period since we declared the self-administration, and we have also a finance department that helping to manage these things, and I think you will see the improvements in the services. That's our proof this is our proof to our work. I mean, this is our
thanks. Thank you, Amr.
How we can do it.
We're unfortunately a little bit past. We've run over a little bit, but I'll give each one of you an opportunity to just give us a concluding thought. I will start with Dr. Abdelkader Al-Junaid in 1 minute. If you could just give us your concluding thoughts. Thank you.
Yemen, as a whole country, is a very dear thing to me, and it should stay one whole thing. The central way of doing it as the old days are gone, and that can't be repeated. And allowing it to be shattered into pieces and warlords and cantons, this will be just, will take us to ruin. It will ruin our country. The only way out is the federation, a federal state. There is no another way. We are diverse, yes, diverse is not bad. We are different, yes, we are different. This is no problem. Everywhere they are different. We have problems, yes, but we should never, ever sort out these problems through arms or through allying with foreign powers. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasmin, I'll give it to you.
Okay, from my side, I would just leave some recommendations. We need to think about more inclusive peace process. There are still many marginalized voices like the Al-Hirak Al-Tahami and others. And I think it's very important to have national observers within all the peace agreements when it comes to implementation. So we know exactly who is blocking what, because mediators usually do not like to share this information. And and finally, I have a lot to share. Maybe I should share more the outcomes. I think the government, the legitimate government, should work more on promoting the outcomes of the national dialogue, specifically the South issue, because it says a lot, and it's even giving you the option to have, because there was some conflict during the discussion about whether to have 6 or 2 federal provinces. And this is their chance as well to negotiate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Yasmin. Amr, if you would like to give us your concluding thoughts.
Well, as I said, I mean, political peace process is important for everyone and needs to be inclusive for sure. And to simplify the thing, that the North is. I mean, we have to find different solutions. I mean, let's see how things are on the ground, for example, in the North, and try to find solutions upon that. From our side, we are eager to be part in the peace process, first track, in order to preserve the Southern cause interest, matter of how to open this the Southern cause, when and who will take part of that negotiation. So that's our goals right now in the peace process, and we think that by that way we can find solutions for our people's ambitions in the future.
Thanks, Amr. And Dr. Saad, we will conclude with you.
Thank you very much. This has been very interesting. I'll be very straightforward. As long as the capturing medieval forces survive and call the shots. In the north, it is an impossible task to reunite or to form a civil state out of these powers who are still on the table and they are still calling the shots. And they will, second point, the National Dialogue Conference outcomes, and I was a full member of that, has been completely trampled on by the Houthis when they invaded Aden. That is the second invasion of Aden. And we have grown out, we have grown up to be again succumbed to this kind of rule. These captors, these vultures are still in all sides of all teams, whether it is the government or the legitimate government, it still has those people. I mean, should I give examples? I don't want to give examples of that. My last hope and wish and message to the STC, you have to be better and you have to be more open. For God's sake, if your power center, it becomes less and less strong as you go east. In Al-Mahra and Hadramaut, they want to know, who are you? What are your intentions for places like Hadramaut and Al-Mahra and Shabwa? Be clear today. The last point, the NDC outcomes and even the draft constitution was to me, it was a disaster. It was an attempt to backstab that conference. It killed the very essence of this federalism that all the elites are talking about. It's not going to happen because it usurps the wealth again into the center. And that it should not have been like that. I call upon the Southern forces or the STC that can do that. They can call for a Southern conference and bring the people from Hadramaut, Al-Mahra, Socotra, and Abyan, and everybody to sit down and draw out a plan and draw out some sort of a draft path that we can all support and we can all stand behind and call for a new nation that will be welcoming those who need refuge in South Yemen, who they can come as we have to give a refuge to so many people before. That is my message.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Please get rid of the Houthis and we can talk.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saad. Thank you so much. We're unfortunately out of time. I appreciate all of your diverse views and definitely the attendance. Thank you all for attending this Middle East Institute webinar, and we hopefully will see you all again soon in our next event.
Thank you, Fatma. Thank you very much.